All right, y'all. In today's video, we are going to be going through and predicting the Western Conference All-Stars this season in the NBA. Now, before we hop into it, I do just quickly want to say I'm trying something new with the audio in this video. Let me know what y'all think of the audio in this. Would really appreciate a comment, just letting me know how it sounds and stuff like that. But before we hop into the video and rank these All-Stars and predict this team, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Help me push towards the 2,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I'm uploading every single day, multiple NBA videos a day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. With that being said, without further ado, we're going to hop right into it. We're going to start with the starting lineup. And as the starting point guard for the All-Star team, I feel like it is pretty easy. Gilgeous-Alexander gets that spot this year. 31 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 6 assists on one of the two best teams in basketball to this point in the season. Has been very efficient, especially from two-point range. One of the most efficient mid-range shooters in all of basketball, one of the smoothest players in all of basketball. He might not be the best playmaker among all PGs, but he's a very capable playmaker, and he is an absolutely elite scorer. And I think it is also worth mentioning he is a high-level defensive guard as well. Really think SGA is a great player, and for me, he's a kind of a no-brainer in my opinion in terms of a guy who's definitely an all-star. And I think there's not much doubt about it that he's going to be a starter this year, not just make that all-star team. The other guard in the West, honestly, is pretty easy as well, because Luka Doncic will not be an all-star this year because of injuries. And I think because of that, it makes it pretty easy here as well. Anthony Edwards, to me, is the other guy. He's averaging almost 26 a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. You can criticize the Timberwolves all you want, and I think those criticisms are valid. And here's the honest truth. I would criticize Anthony Edwards as a player, I think, more than most fans would. I've done so recently. But you can't take away from the fact that he's 43% from three, having himself an incredible offensive season, highly efficient. He's a good defensive guard in his own right. Really, really good player. And the ability to shoot the three ball like he has this year has been a huge step forward in his game. The one area where I don't love Ant's regression to a certain extent this season has been the fact that he's shooting about 5 percentage points worse from two-point range this year, which is certainly not ideal, and his assist to turnover ratio is not great. Those are the two biggest criticisms to his game. In my opinion, there are things about Ant and moments where I just don't feel like he's playing the most winning basketball, but it's hard to not say that he is an all-star caliber player. Without a doubt, I think he gets that other starting guard spot this year, and I think deservedly so. I'm not trying to criticize him as a player at all. At the small forward position, it's got to be LeBron, right? Like, I get the criticism of LeBron defensively, and I think there's some validity to it. But he's averaging 24, almost 8, and almost 9. 51% from the field, almost 39% from three. He's 40 years old doing this, y'all. The efficiency is off the charts, and his all-around production on the offensive end of the court is still incredible. The honest truth is, defensively, he's bad, like 95% of the time. But that 5% of the time, he can still turn it up on the defensive end and make impactful plays in big moments on the defensive end of the court. And so I do believe he does enough offensively, and he's just so well-rounded and so skilled as an offensive player still. I mean, he's really averaging like close to career bests when it comes to playmaking this year. And his turnovers were up a good chunk for much of the year, have kind of gone back down a little bit, down to 3.7, which is more in line with career averages. Another guy who's having a great year, and in all honesty, besides that 8-day sabbatical he took earlier in the year, he's been pretty healthy as well, which is certainly helping out LeBron James's case versus a guy like KD, who we will get to later in this video, but personally, I don't think is actually going to snag a starting spot. And part of the reason for that, look, I get the Lakers aren't great, but they have two all-star starting caliber players, in my opinion. That other one being Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers, averaging 26, 12, and 3.5. Has not shot the three ball since the first couple weeks of the season. He was really, really good shooting the three early, but since then hasn't been. And look, he had a struggle of a game earlier this week against Dallas, but overall he has been really dominant this year for the most part. I mean, he's averaging what, 26 and 12. Like that's nothing to take lightly. And doing it again, shooting 55% from the inside the paint, or inside the 2-point arc, which honestly is a little bit below the way the last couple of years have been. And yet he's still playing at a really high level. He's averaging not a career best, but it is most in a couple of years at 25.9. I guess that's right in line with 22, 23, but clearly an all-star. And the only thing that kept him out of the all-star game here for a couple of these years was the fact that he's been injured. Again, no-brainer all-star, and I think a pretty easy starter. You could make an argument for KD as well as the other front court guy if you wanted to instead of AD, but to me, I think I'd give Anthony Davis that edge as well. And then finally at the center position, this one is another absolute no-brainer. Nikola Jokic, the best offensive player in the world, probably the best player in the world, having one of the greatest offensive seasons we've ever seen by any player at any position in the history of basketball. 31.5 points, 13 rebounds, 9.7 assists, 55%, 47% from three. Off the charts efficiency. He's the most efficient player in the sport. He is also an absolutely insanely elite rebounding effort guy. Incredible passer, legitimately one of the most skilled offensive players in the history of the sport. And he's a legit 6'11", and a little chunky, but he gets the freaking job done. Are the Nuggets an incredible team this season? No. Is Jokic absolutely still an all-star starter? 100%. Easy selection there. Rounds off that starting lineup, I feel like, with the right choice in Nikola Jokic. Now, coming off the bench, I guess we'll start with guards. Do I believe that this player deserves to be an all-star? That is debatable, but the all-star game is in the Bay Area this year. Steph Curry will be an all-star. Absolutely. And I think you can certainly make the argument he deserves to be. He's still at 23, 6, and 5. Now, the West guards are super deep. There's a couple guards in the West who I did not include on this team at all that could kind of blow your mind. Like, for example, Ja Morant. I don't have him as an all-star. I know that's crazy to say, but to me, it was kind of came down to a couple guards for that last spot, and we'll get to the other guard that I picked here in a second. But Ja Morant didn't make the all-star team. Steph, though, I mean, look, you can criticize the fact that he's not scoring the ball as well as he used to, and he's not quite able to carry an offense the way that he once did. But he's still a 42% three-point shooter, still a 45% from the field, over 50% from two-point range in his old age, still a positive 2-to-1-ish assist to turnover ratio. Like, overall, he still does it at a crazy high level. Absolutely still having an all-star caliber season. Yes, the Warriors have struggled as of late. Yes, Steph has missed some games. I don't think he's missed enough games for it to impact his all-star status. And come on, y'all. It's in the Bay Area. Steph Curry's going to be an all-star. We don't even have to sit here and talk about that one. Another guard in the Western Conference who I think is kind of a no-brainer is Kyrie Irving, especially with Luka now going out, kind of opens up another spot, and Kyrie steps right in as an easy choice. 24, almost 5, 49, 44, 90, having another, close to 50, 40, 90 season with 44% from three. It is just elite high-level basketball from Kyrie Irving on a consistent basis. Now, the biggest thing that could hurt his candidacy is the fact that he does currently have a back injury, and if he winds up missing extended time, which he's not expected to right now, he might wind up not making an all-star team, but I don't think he's expected to miss extended time. He's played the majority of games this season. The efficiency is off the charts. I think he's a little underrated defensively as well, to be completely honest. Like, I think people are too hard on Kyrie on the defensive end of the court. I think he's great, and to me, he's another one who's, I think he's got to be on the team. Now, this next guy is the guy who, it was between him and Ja for the last, like, PG type spot. I went De'Aaron Fox. The reason I went De'Aaron Fox, better all-around efficiency than Ja. Now, Ja's team is better, but Ja also has, in my opinion, a little bit more cohesive co-stars and certainly more depth. A team that is definitely built more to his strengths than De'Aaron does. And honestly, De'Aaron's putting up 27, 6, and 5. Like, he is putting up absolute all-star numbers. No doubt about it. He is just such a high-level offensive player, and he's such an elite finisher, gets to his spots so well, legitimately incredible mid-range shooter, one of the most clutch players in basketball as well. There is, to me, not a world in which De'Aaron Fox does not deserve to be an all-star this season. He is having a great year, and that one feels like a very easy choice, even if it is that last guard spot. De'Aaron Fox 100% deserves it. And then we move on to, which, by the way, that also means Devin Booker, not an all-star. Some other names like that, Ja Morant, Devin Booker, some other guys. Don't have those guys considered as all-stars this season, in my opinion. Now, moving on to a wing, obviously, it shouldn't have taken this long, in all honesty, to talk about this dude. But Kevin Durant is 100% still an all-star, and could be 100% argued as a starter if you wanted to. 27.5, 6.5, 4 assists a game on 52, 41, 84. Still flirting with that 50, 40, 90 stuff, even after all these years. KD has always been one of the greatest offensive players in the history of the sport, and absolutely still is. Still a very good playmaker, still a great shooter. Really has not regressed much offensively at all. If you wanted to put him over LeBron, I wouldn't mind that. LeBron has played more games. LeBron's team is a little bit better this season. Maybe I have a little bit of LeBron bias as well. But to me, I give LeBron that starting edge. But if you wanted to switch him with LeBron, him with AD, I would not be mad at you. KD is still having another incredible season. He's another guy who don't quite talk about as much as we do with Bron, I guess because he's a few years younger, but he is aging incredibly well and still playing incredibly high-level basketball. One more guard, and then we'll get to a couple bigs here. That last, or I guess I say guard. One more wing slash guard slash combo, whatever you need him to be, is Jalen Williams, a dude who can shoot at a pretty high level, can score the ball at a very high level, rebounds, assists, versatility, does everything solid. The thing that makes J-Dub so good, though, is he is legitimately one of the best defensive wings in all of basketball as well. He is absolutely not just a very high-level option offensively. He's a great defensive player, one of the best on this list, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. I think he is another one where the numbers may not be quite as impressive as most of these players, and again, the West is loaded. We're going to get a lot of great stats, but come on. Incredible defense, 25-5 to almost 26-5. Like, you can't tell me Jaylen Brown's. Jalen Williams is not an all-star, especially on the Thunder. No Celtics all season. They have the second best record in the league. Like, come on. They deserve 2 all-stars. Jalen Williams, congratulations on making your first all-star team, at least in my book. At the center position, we will go with Mr. Wembanyama. This one feels, again, like an absolute no-brainer. 25, 11, and 4. If it wasn't for Jokic, AD, KD, he's starting. And I wouldn't be shocked if he starts next year. He's about 2 to 3 years away from being the best player in the world, I think. He's been basically 40% from 3 since the first 8 or so games of the season. He's really not inefficient on the interior despite the frail frame because his size is just so glitchy. He's been significantly more efficient at the rim than he was last season this year. The one criticism I have of Wemby is he turns the ball over too much. He brings the ball out down too much. He's got to go up stronger. I think the over dribbling sometimes does hurt him a little bit and lead to some turnover opportunities. And I think his strength could use some work. With that being said, he's legitimately already one of the 10 or so best players in the sport. I feel like he's a no-brainer again. Like, that one's one of those you just plug and play, and there's no issues with it. And then the last spot on this list was going to go to either Domantas Sabonis or Alperen Şengün. And I considered giving it to Sabonis, but I'm going to give it to Şengün. Şengün, for one, team is much better than Sabonis is. For 2, Sabonis already has an all-star. For 3, yes, 19, 10, and 5, and not shooting the 3-ball well at all this season. But to be fair, he has shot less of them this year, down to 1.5 attempts per game. He's averaging 19, 10, and 5 on a good assist turnover ratio. The best player on a 2-3 seed, like high caliber Houston Rockets team. I think that deserves more recognition than maybe Sabonis, who's putting up slightly better stats, but on a much worse team. I think Şengün gets that last all-star spot to me, and that is the Western Conference All-Stars for this season in my personal predictions. With that being said, let me know what y'all think of the video in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.